What if I told you that most men don't actually feel anger? It might be obvious what I'm about to say, but hear me out. Most men use anger to cover up another emotion, the emotion of vulnerability. Men don't want to feel vulnerable, so they mask it with anger. In fact, there was a study done in 2011 by David Matsumoto, which found that when men were instructed to suppress their emotions, they were more likely to cover up sadness, fear, and anxiety with anger than women were. So what does this mean for you? Well, the next time you see a man who is angry, ask yourself, what is he really feeling? Maybe he's just not having a good day, or maybe there's something deeper going on. This is because emotional abuse damages our capacity for emotional expression and makes us feel ashamed for crying or being vulnerable, such as avoiding the things they feared, which ultimately led to more anxiety. For example, when you're sad, you might feel like crying, or when you're happy, you might feel like smiling. Well, it turns out that this is no coincidence. So what can you do instead? Well, the key is to find healthy ways to cope with anxiety that don't involve trying to control everything. This might include things like exercise, yoga, or talking to a therapist. Are you tired of feeling numb and disconnected from your emotions? One of the best things you can do is to start practicing mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being present in the moment and fully engaged in what you're doing. By understanding the different emotions that men may be feeling, we can become more compassionate and empathetic towards them. So the next time you see a man who is angry, remember that there may be more to him than meets the eye. When we're mindful, we're able to focus on our thoughts and feelings without judgment. This can help us become more aware of our emotions and how they're affecting us. Do you feel like you're just going through the motions in life without really feeling anything? If so, you're not alone. When we accept what is, we're able to let go of our struggle and move forward with our lives. Many people struggle to feel their emotions, whether due to past trauma or simply living in a culture that doesn't value emotional expression. Have you ever been frustrated when someone does something that makes you angry? When we feel angry, it's easy to see the person as the problem, but maybe we should be seeing ourselves as the problem instead. As a result, we learn to suppress our emotions, which can lead to all sorts of psychological problems down the road. When we feel anxious, we often try to control everything around us. In a study published in the journal Emotion, researchers found that people who were more in touch with their emotions were also more likely to experience physical symptoms when they were feeling emotional. So what does this mean for you? That that something in our relationships is wrong and needs to be fixed. So the next time you feel angry, take a step back and ask yourself what the underlying issue really is. It may just lead to a deeper understanding of yourself and those around you. Well, it means that if you're feeling overwhelmed by your emotions, it might be helpful to find physical ways to express them, such as through art, music, or dance. We become fixated on details and try to eliminate any potential risks. But this need for control is actually a maladaptive strategy that only makes anxiety worse. Now let's move on to point no. 2. Emotions get rewired. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to be able to express their emotions freely, while others struggle to do so? Well, it turns out that our ability to feel and express our emotions is largely determined by our early childhood experiences. In fact, in a study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, researchers found that people who had experienced severe emotional abuse as children were less able to identify and regulate their emotions in adulthood. But it's not just emotional abuse that can affect our ability to feel emotions. Any kind of negative experience, such as neglect or a parent who is overly critical, can also have a negative impact on our emotional development. Luckily, there are things that you can do to improve your ability to feel your emotions, such as practicing mindfulness and acceptance. Moving on to point no. 3. Anxiety hides behind control. In fact, a study published in the Journal of Behavior Therapy and Psychiatry found that people with high-trait anxiety were more likely to engage in safety behaviors. Point no. 4. Unprocessed emotion turns physical. Have you ever noticed how you feel physically when you're feeling a certain way? In fact, our emotions and our physical sensations are closely linked together. No. 5. Anger is a signal, not a flaw. In a study published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships, researchers found that people who were more self-aware were better at using anger to improve their relationships. And finally, no. 6. How to start feeling what's real. But the good news is that there are things you can do to start feeling more connected to yourself and your emotions. Another thing that can help is acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up or giving in. It means acknowledging and embracing the reality of the situation. In conclusion, these studies show that men often use anger as a way to hide their true emotions, but anger isn't always what it seems. That's all for now. See you next time.